So, good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to one and all present here. Uh, we are starting our session in just few minutes. Let's wait for few more to join. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And the
Yes, sir.
presentation is also visible or not?
Yes,
Is
Visible,
sir.
my
sir.
Visible.
okay? Thank you. We will start in 2 or 3 minutes. We are starting our session now. Uh, before starting our session, let me introduce what what we are doing. So this seminar is basically organized by Arise Academy, and it's a research and training division of Apex Services. And myself is Dr. Mohammad Adnan. I'm an assistant professor at Uttaranchal University, Dehradun. And today we will talk about basic things, and though they are basics, but they are very important related to the questionnaire development. And questionnaire development is a very important and most crucial moment that can maybe ruin your entire work, your entire survey, and your hard work of around 4 to 6 months may go to ruin. So you should be very careful while designing your questionnaire so that you may not face the challenges and problem while analyzing the data. So we will discuss about very important and crucial themes related to questionnaire development. So when we are discussing or manufacturing, or you can say the constructing questionnaire, we should understand what to measure before understanding how to measure it. So when we talk about measurement, we most of the time when we are dealing with questionnaires, we are basically interested in some variables. Maybe you are aware about variables and phenomena of interest, and maybe sometime you come across the word construct. So whenever we are interested in measuring something, and that something may be related to something which which you can directly observe, like height, weight, and sometimes there are some very obvious but abstract concept like perception, attitude, behavior, things which we cannot directly measure. So basically, measurement is the process of describing some property of phenomena of interest which we can measure. Like you can think about example of height. Height is a phenomenon of interest which we want to measure, and we can measure height in feet, centimeters, and there are other criteria also through which we can measure. And basically, we assign number in a reliable and valid way. When I say reliable and valid way, it is very important criteria when we are assessing the quality of a measurement, and we will discuss about reliability and validity of the questionnaires. So when we assign numbers uh, in our scale or measurement, the number actually have some kind of information that tells us something about the property we are measuring. Like we are measuring height, and if someone is of 5 feet and some another is of 6 feet, we know that 6 feet um, is is more in height as compared to the 5 feet. So we know with the help of numbers that what the numbers indicate. So you can think about it more when we give numbers to the student. And obviously, though this is very simple when we assign number to assess the performance. So the phenomena of interest here is the performance of a student, and how we are measuring the performance. There could be multiple ways, and some of the ways I have demonstrated here. For example, in the first criteria, you can see that I have assigned number from A to F, A, B, C, D, E, and F. So F represents the failing performance. On the other hand, if I can measure the performance in a different way, the second way we can assign number from 1 to 20. And the most prominently used method is basically we can assign numbers or performance, measure performance based on the percentage, how much how many questions did the examinee or the student get corrected. We assign percentage marks on that basis, or we can simply use a dichotomous variables in which we assign only two rank, P and F, P for pass and F for fail. So the obviously the performance measurement of student is a very common and most prominent phenomena that we can grasp, but still there are multiple ways through which we can measure the performance, and some of the performance indicators are more accurate and more reliable as compared to the others. Now, what we observe in reality, in Indian context, you can think about the four students, and we score some percentage marks. And after and final, when we got our degree, we get something, some letter grades like A, B, C, something like that. And those grades divide the performance, or you can think about 100% can be divided in 10 equal parts or 5 equal parts. So when we compress the 100 points into 5 points, we tend to lose out some information, and that is what we call error in measurement. So you can think about it. The candidate number one, he scored 79 point. Just give me a minute. So that one, he scored 79.4%, and he if I divide 100 into 5 equal parts, so or 10 equal parts, we get 10% dedicated to a single indicator. Like from 90 to 100, we will assign A. So just suppose for 79.4 we assigned C, because it's not 80. When we make it approximate, so it will come out to be 79%, and we assign on that basis C. That person is scoring 70%, we will also assigning him C. And that person, he is just below 1%, but as he is falling under a different category, we are assigning D. And that one person who is scoring 79.4, though this person is only 0.4% or 0.5% better than this person, still he is getting a better score. So this phenomena, you can say there is a error in measurement. So we have to keep all these things in mind. Obviously, there are two kind of thing that we should keep in mind. Obviously, error exists, and the sampling error may happen, and the sampling error can be reduced by increasing the sample size. Most of the time, if you try to half the sampling error, you have to triple the respondents. So we can reduce the sampling error, but there are other kind of error that may occur, and those kind of error can only be mitigated only when we are very careful while designing the questionnaire. So there are few more things that we should keep in mind. First, there is a term what we call concept, and obviously concept is something which we are interested in. I use the term phenomena of interest, and the phenomena of interest is a concept, otherwise the we cannot be able to measure it. So the concept, you can think about it as a generalized idea that represent something of meaning, and you can think about of age is a concept. Age basically represent how long how for how much time a person exists in this world. Or you can think about sex is a concept which basically determined his gender. And education is another concept, how literate it measure how literate a person is. Similarly, there are another different concepts. These concepts are relatively easy and concrete. They can be measured very easily, although there are some other concept which you cannot directly measure, and very abstract and very difficult to measure, such as you can think about loyalty, personality, and trust, corporate culture, customer satisfaction, and different other things. So how do we do it? There is another thing, and it is very important. Whenever we are designing the questionnaire, we should always look for the operational definition, and we will look an example of operational definition, how it help in the questionnaire development. So what do we mean by operational definition? You can think about it as a recipe. It basically instruct how the questions will work, or how the question what the questions contain or demonstrate what they represent. So basically operational definition is a definition of concept, but it also help how do we measure the concept. Now another thing is variable. So basically variable, and we all are aware about variables. Variable basically is the term, you can think about it like uh, it vary in value from person to person, and basically it is there to capture the different values of construct or construct. We will talk about construct a little bit later. So it basically capture different values of construct. Construct can be, you can think about culture or corporate culture is a construct, and this construct may mean different thing to you and may mean different thing to me. And when we talk about variable is a thing which can capture the different values. Suppose we are assigning some number based on the scale like 1 to 5, and variable capture these values. So the variable capture the variance in the concept. Now moving on to the construct. Most of the time what happens when the construct or the concept are very concrete and can be measured with single item like age, sex, and education, we can do it. But most of the time, or if not most, then you can think about sometime it happen that a single variable cannot capture the concept alone. The concept itself is very complex, like customer satisfaction or corporate culture or trust. So in such a scenario, we need multiple questions, multiple items that help us measure the that particular concept, because it is more complex and single item is not reliably and validly measure that entire construct. Now, before moving on, there is a small task for all of you. If you want to get the certificate for this free seminar, you all required to follow our page on LinkedIn, and that's there is nothing other than this that you are required to get the certificate for this seminar. So I'm giving you 2 to 3 minutes. And all of you, please move and subscribe our channel for such other seminar we will organize on time to time. And there is another seminar which I would like to promote here. We are going to organize a seminar conducted by Dr. Raj from IIM. He will be telling all of you guys how you can create a proposal and get a position of research associate in reputed institutions. So you will get such information about different seminars on this page. So kindly go and follow this page. You will also get the certificate only by following. When you are done with it, kindly drop a message in the chat box. Yeah, I'm sharing it. Just a minute. You can also scan this QR code and you will be directly directed to the page, toward the page. I'm starting our session. Hope you have done it. You have followed the page. Now, we are basically talking about the concept, conceptual definition, or the operational definition, and then the operationalized questions and items. Hope I'm audible to all of you. One of you can respond. Am I still
Yes.
audible?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
for the responding. So now the
Yes,
concept is
sir.
okay. Thank you. So the concept is, or the phenomenon of interest in which we are interested to measure, we want to measure the susceptibility to interpersonal influence. Obviously, we all are susceptible to different varying degree of influence through which we are influenced by another peers, maybe relatives and family members. So the conceptual definition, you can look at it. It goes like this. Susceptibility to interpersonal influence is the need to identify with or enhance one's image in the opinion of significant other. When it says significant other, it simply means that someone who is of importance to you through the acquisition and use of product and brand. Obviously, we are influenced by some another person, and through which by which we are using some kind of product, like because we are influenced, we are wearing a branded or we are having a branded mobile phone. Similarly, the willingness to conform to the expectations of other regarding purchase decision, and a tendency to learn about product and services. Obviously, because we are influenced or we are susceptible to interpersonal influence, we are more likely to learn about something or some product or services by observing other or seeking information from other. This is a very good example of conceptual definition, and by the use of this definition, you can basically create be able to draft such items or questions. For example, the first item is I frequently gather information about stock from friend or family before I invest in them. So there is an underlying meaning. The question reflects that the respondent basically gather information about stock from friend and family because he may be susceptible to influence of those family and friend. So this question is trying to measure the susceptibility of interpersonal influence, and we all know that this single individual question is not sufficient to capture the meaning of susceptibility. So what we are doing, we are using multiple items, and when we use multiple items to measure a single concept, we call it construct. Now, we have discussed about few things like variable, measure, construct. Now, it's time for us to discuss about different levels of scale measurement. And these scales, and to understand about these scale is important because understanding of them is important from the perspective of statistical analysis. There are four type of scales: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. When I talk about nominal, it is the very basic, and it basically used to categorize different things like gender. You cannot do mathematical operations like division and multiplication on the nominal categories. For example, you can think about different state of India, like, and you can assign different number based on their location. Like you can assign Delhi 1 to Delhi, 2 to different state like Haryana, Gujarat. Similarly, you have assigned different numbers, but though there are numbers, you can add subtract the numbers, but obviously we all are aware that those number means nothing because they are nominal. They represent a name, and what we can do, we can just count, we can assign mode, and we can just total it. So there are very less mathematical operations that we can do on nominal variables. Then there are ordinal. In ordinal scale, what we can do, we can basically tell the order of something. Like you can think about a race, and in the race, you can assign number to 1, 2, and 3, and in this we can assess the order, which one comes the first, which one is the second, and which one is the third. But the difference in first, second, and third may vary, and we cannot assume that the difference in 1 and 2 is equal to difference in 1 and 3. As we have already discussed, suppose in a class, the person who got first got a marks of 80%, and the person who is second got 75%, and the third who got 73% got the third. He just lost by 2%. So the difference between these is not equal when we talk about ordinal scale. Now, here come the interval scale. In interval scale, we basically measure the precise difference between two numbers. Suppose you can think about a horse race, and the difference between first and second is 1 second, and from second to third is 20 second. And when we talk about liquor scale, you can also think about it in as an ordinal scale or interval scale, because like you assign strongly disagree, then disagree, then neutral, and then agree and strongly agree, and we assign number based on it like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The difference between 4 and 5, though numerically it's one number, But when we are measuring the attitude or the usefulness of something, for example, we just talked about the concept of susceptibility to influence, and we were able to assess the susceptibility for person A, that he is the highest susceptible person, and another is on 4 level and another is 3 level. You cannot say that the difference between the degree of susceptibility is equal for the for 4 and 5, and the degree of susceptibility difference between these two are same. So this is the drawback of Likert scale. But I will tell you about why we assume Likert scale as continuous or ratio. We will talk about it a little bit later. Now, we talked about ordinal, and there is only order in ordinal scale, and interval. There, the difference between two individual number is also available to assess. And in the final ratio, it is basically a continuous measure, and we know everything and about it basically possess the quality of all of them. And there is an absolute zero here also. Let me just give you another example of interval scale. We all are aware about the centigrade or Fahrenheit. Basically, it is used to measure the temperature, and the difference between 1 degree Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius is 9, and 10 to 19 is also 9. So there is equal difference. It is an interval scale. But what we know, when we say that 0 degree Celsius, actually, in reality, it can never happen. 0 degree Celsius means absence of a temperature, and it cannot happen in reality. Though, so there is no absolute zero when we talk about temperature, centigrade or Fahrenheit. So there is no absolute zero, although the difference between different values is there. And in ratio scale, we also have the property of absolute zero. So this is the thing about scale measurement. Now, these are some of the examples of nominal scale, like student ID number, male, female, buy, don't, do not buy, regions. Then these are the example of ordinal scale. These example of interval and ratio. The interval and ratio scale are the mostly used numbers because we can perform most of the mathematical operation or statistical operation on interval and ratio, like frequency, mode, mediation, range, medians, variance, and standard deviation. All of the mathematical operation can be performed on these. Now, let's talk about the important concept of reliability and validity. So, let's first talk about reliability. What is reliability? Basically, reliability measure the consistency, and consistency is the key to measure or understand reliability. For example, one of you can volunteer, and I want you to give me different answer, though I am asking the same question. So, who is going to volunteer? Anyone can raise your hand. Anyone, please. Okay, Anuradha. Yes, you can unmute your mic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, and you have to give me different answer whenever I ask the same question. So, tell me, what's your weight?
54.
54. Okay. Suppose after 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I am asking again, what's your weight? Yes, please. What's your weight?
54.
You are okay. Now you have to change your answer, na?
Okay,
So
okay, sir.
tell me
Okay.
again, what's your weight?
55.
55. Now you change again. What's your weight?
57.
57. So I'm asking from all of you. can we rely on someone or a scale who is giving us different results every time we are measuring it? Because the measure is not consistent. What we call it? Unreliable. What we call it? Not reliable. So basically, reliability measure the consistency. Suppose you can think about an example of a rifle. So uh, you are basically hitting the target, and the target is hit by on a different points. Here you can see it is hitting different target. So the rifle cannot be relied upon because it is not accurate. It is changing the result. We will not be able to hit our target if we use this specific rifle. So in another case, a different rifle, a new rifle, it is basically giving us more accurate and most of the results falling on the precise target. So it is more reliable. So reliability basically means the consistency. Think about weighing scale. You can think about a tarazu, a weighing scale, and you step on it, and first it showed that you are 50 kg. You step on it again, and it's again saying 50 kg, and after a few minutes you stepped on it again and it still is saying 50 kg. Then you can basically rely on this scale. But if the scale change every time, as happen in case of some results with the doctors, like you got your blood sample checked and you are not positive for something, and in another time you are positive, so you cannot rely upon something which change every time you measure something. So this is not reliable. So now there are different tests which we can use reliability. So reliability, most of the time, statistically, you can measure internal consistency of the measure. Internal consistency can only be measured in case of construct, when you are using multiple item to measure a single concept like perception about something or susceptibility to interpersonal influence. So when you are using multiple items, you can use internal consistency test. So there are basically two tests you can think of. First is split half. Suppose you have collected three data from 300 respondents. In a split half test, what we do, we split the data into two parts, 150 and 150, and then assess the correlation between items, between these two items. And if the correlation is high, we can assume that they are consistent, they are very highly correlated. It means they are measuring the precisely measuring the same thing again and again, no matter how much time we are measuring. But there is a slight confusion when we are using a split half. We have to find out different ways in which we can use that. We can split the different respondents, or you can do the even odd like 1, 3, 5, similarly, and 2, 4, 6. We club all these numbers and then assess the correlation, or you can just divide the data set into two halves, the first 150 and the last 150, and then check the correlation. So this is the problem with split half test, but it is not the problem with Cronbach alpha. Cronbach alpha solve this problem. So what do we mean by Cronbach alpha? Basically, Cronbach alpha does the same thing, but for every possible combination, it run all the possible combination, and on the basis of results of all possible combination, it take out the average of all the combination and then provide you a value. And on the basis of that value, you will be able to tell if the measurement scale that you have used to collect the data can be relied upon or not, or does this have reliability or not. For instance, uh, most of the time, if the value of Cronbach alpha is from zero point 0.8 to 0.95, you can think of it like very good reliability. And from zero point 0.7 to 8, you can think of it as good reliability. But if the questions are 6, you can think of it is still reliable but not as good reliability. And if the value fall below 6, you can say, and you have to say, that the questions or the questionnaire is not reliable. Then there is another test which we can use is test retest reliability. What it is? Basically, we have to do it physically. We have to ask the same question from the same respondent after some interval. Like you can think, you ask someone about something like his susceptibility to interpersonal influence, and after 1 month you are asking the same person the same question. And if the response is same, you can think about it that it is reliable. But there are certain situations in which, though the questionnaire is reliable, you may get different results due to the time variance, because the time has changed and the respondent be may be influenced by some other thing, or he may be sensitized due to the exposure to the questionnaire itself, because you have already told him about such thing, that this kind of thing can exist, and through which he gets sensitized, and after 1 month you get a different result. So this is not this is the test we do not use most of the time. And what we use Cronbach alpha to assess the reliability of a construct. Now, moving on to the validity, there are different type of validity. First, let me tell you what do we mean by validity. Basically, uh, validity simply means that what we are measuring actually measuring the same thing. For example, if I am interested in measuring your height and putting you on a scale, on a weighing scale, so will I be able to assess your height on the basis of weighing measures? Like I uh, I want you to step on the weighing measure and it says 50, and will I be able to judge your height based on the weight? Or even if I end up finding some way, but it is not reliable because height is not as same as the weight. So validity simply means that whatever we are measuring, actually measuring it. Now there are different type of validity. First is face validity, then content validity, and criterion validity. For example, let's take the face validity first. So basically, we if we are measuring a concept based on the conceptual definition I told you earlier, the experts judge that the items representing or actually measuring the concept itself. If the expert says that the items are related to the concept or the conceptual definition, then they can judge that the items have face validity or not. And another concept, content validity. What do we mean by content validity? Basically, content validity measure the extent or depth, breadth of of a construct. Think about financial inclusion. So financial inclusion is a construct and you have to measure it. But how we can measure it? There, obviously, by definitions, there are multiple dimensions, like usage of financial services, awareness of financial services, and uh, financial literacy. So these things can be used to assess the financial inclusion. So we have to check whether the concept is measuring the domain, specific domain based on the conceptual definition. And one more thing, we have to keep in mind that we should not go beyond Let me just give you a simple example. Think about it. You are teaching in a class, and you have covered 2 unit of the syllabus, and you told the students that you will get questions from these 2 units and you have to prepare it. And it happened with us also. Sometime we get questions even out of syllabus, not out of unit but out of syllabus. And when this happen, this is a example of content validity, because the examiner or the question paper setter set questions that are not in our content. So it basically lacking the content validity. So when we are measuring something, when we are measuring a concept, suppose we are measuring susceptibility to interpersonal influence. So we have to measure this specific domain precisely. We should not use a question from a different construct, or we should not reduce the dimensions of that specific construct. So how we will be able to assess that, how we gonna know that the content we have covered or not? And this is the task that can be achieved by the literature review only, and there is no other way around. You will be able to understand the content validity, you have to refer to the literature. And face validity, it is the work of experts. Then finally, there is criterion validity. So what is criterion validity? Criterion validity, you can think about it like when we are judging our results on the basis of a benchmark or a standard. So basically, there are two classifications in criterion validity: concurrent validity and predictive validity. And I have also incorporated an example. You can get a better idea by following this example. For instance, a home pregnancy test is designed to have concurrent validity to accurately determine if a person is pregnant at the time of the test. So, if it is accurately predicting that this happened, it has concurrent validity. Now, there is another test, fertility test. Fertility test is basically a predictive validity, but it basically determines that in future will you be able to get pregnant or not. So, this is the criterion validity. Now, after determining these validities, and you cannot do it statistically, you can do it on the basis of literature review. Now, there are two kind of validity which can be assessed and evaluated using the statistical software: convergent validity and discriminant validity. For example, let's take an example. What do we mean by convergent and discriminant? Suppose you are interested in something that there are three concepts: concept A, B, and C. You are saying that concept B has a positive impact on C, and concept A has a positive impact on C. Both of them are hypothesized to be having a positive impact on C. Now you have to measure A, you have to measure B, and you have to measure C. And what do we mean? We measure B with 3 questions. We measure C with 3 or 4 questions. Similarly, we measure three using these questions. So, what is convergent validity? When these three items converge together, they are not overlapping here or here. We call it convergent validity. Most of the time for convergent validity, we use average variance extracted. And apart from this, we use HTMT metrics, and there are other different tests. But it simply means that the items are converging together. They are not going another on a different construct. What do we mean by discriminant validity? Discriminant validity simply means that this construct and this construct are different. They are two different things. They are not overlapping. Suppose you are interested in attitude toward person A, attitude toward person B, because both of the attitude, obviously there are some kind of correlation between them. Even after there exists correlation between these two constructs, these two constructs should be different from one another. So these are the two tests which we do to ensure that the questionnaires are valid or not. Now, these are the important concepts related to the questionnaire. Now, what are the common mistakes that we do while framing a questionnaire? So the first is, most of the time what we do, leading and biased questions. We try to push the respondent to mark on something. So, for example, uh, one kind of question we can use: don't you agree that our college library need better sitting? It is a pushy question, or you can say that it is a leading or biased question. Another important mistake, and I have myself noticed it most of the time, what we do, we use double barreled questions. In double barreled questions, what we do, we basically ask two different questions and allowing only one response. I'm going to give you an example of it. For example, was the professor knowledgeable and responsive to email? So the here I am asking two different questions. I am asking about the knowledge of professor and responsive. So even if the professor is knowledgeable and he is not responding to your mails, you will end up giving him a low score. So you should not use this kind of questions when you are asking two different concept or two different things in the same question and you are allowing the person only with one response. Another thing is ambiguous or complex wording. And you, all of you, it's my humble suggestion that please be very careful about ambiguity and complex word when we are doing a PhD or we are working under some professor writing a research paper. We know in very depth the concept itself, but we cannot expect someone else to know all the things or the complexity of the domain. So what we do whenever we design the questionnaire, we have to consult. We have what we call it co-creation, and we have to talk with the respondents or the potential respondents. And after talking, we have to judge, will the audience be able to understand what I am writing in the questionnaire? Because most of the time, like I am taking an example of my own research. I worked upon the BC model, and I am not expecting all of you to know about this model. So what is BC model? The general public obviously will not be aware about it. So I go in the field and discuss with the my potential respondents and came to know different words that they use locally, like bank mitra. So I used such wordings and terminology in my questionnaire. So you have to do it. So you have to avoid very complex words. So for example, you can use, how often do you consume high calorie beverage? Do you expect someone to know what calorie beverage means? No, we cannot expect them. So we have to be careful in such a scenario. No, another common mistake is flawed response scale, because the scale is not balanced. And suppose we are using a scale 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 is not there, so it is not balanced. So this kind of thing, sometime the postgraduate students end up doing such kind of mistakes. And then questionnaire length, we end up creating a very lengthy questionnaire. We have tried to avoid it because ideally what happened, we expect 5 to 7 minutes to be ideal for completion of questionnaire. If the questionnaire is too lengthy and it exceed 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then it become very boring. And the respondent try to get out of the situation, and he end up ticking up randomly without even reading the questions. Most of the time, he will mark the second right option on the questionnaire randomly, and he do it most frequently. So basically this kind of things incorporate or involve error in the questionnaire or the data, and you cannot basically mitigate it. So try to be precise and try to keep your questionnaire including of very less questions. You should try to avoid a lengthy questionnaire. Now, another important mistake, we are omitting a pilot test. In pilot test, we will be able to assess whether the respondents are understanding the questions. Do we have to change the subject matter? Do we have to change the language of the questionnaire? Do we have to reduce the question? So it is very important to do the pilot testing. Now, there is another example of double-barreled questions. The examples goes like this: how satisfied are you with the salary and benefit at your job? So it is asking two questions. It is asking about satisfaction, that one is clear, but satisfaction about salary and benefit, there could be another different benefits also apart from the salary. Even if someone is satisfied with the benefit, he may not be as satisfied with the salary. So he has only one option to respond to, and you are giving him only one chance. So this is a double barrel question. Let me see what are the different questions in the comment. Just give me a time. Okay, no problem. Someone is saying that he is transcribing. No problem with that. Now let me demonstrate how you can create a basic Google form or the questionnaire. So you have to go to the Google, and after going there, you have to search Google form, and you will get a result like this, and then go to the Google form. Nowadays, you will get this kind of prompt, and it
Excuse me, sir.
it's not visible to you. Okay, okay, got it, got it. Just a minute, few minutes. I hope it's visible now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, first open the Google and then type Google form. After searching, you will get results like this, and then click Google form. And after signing in, you will get a prompt like this, and it is basically asking you to describe what kind of questionnaire or what kind of form you want to create, and the AI will do it on its own. But when it comes to standardized questionnaire which we will use in our research, we cannot rely on it. So you just have to close it. Then on top of it,